apartment complexes, that it was a controlled form, and that's why we said a beer garden or permit, not
Right.
just open.
So that could be through a special events permit as well,
Correct.
though. So if they have, if the league's a nonprofit, they could actually come before the board or liquor license, get a special events permit. So it wouldn't prohibit something, maybe end of your celebration, but I think enough people have been involved with softball or seen softball and know that beer can be a big fuel for that activity. And, we can probably have more issues coming from the police department from people getting angry at refs or at each other. Certainly, that's been my past experience with those leagues.
So the fact that it's not a Diamond Valley probably will be kind of a non-issue.
Correct. But, for example, could someone have a keg at a family reunion at Main Park?
Yeah.
They would be able to. Again, in our reporting, we'd like to ask people to self-report that I'm gonna have, some beer in a cooler, or I may have a keg, and we now know, we're aware, we can track it, we can also alert the police department, hey, if that's at the family reunion, they're gonna have a little more larger amount of alcohol on hand, you probably wanna pay attention.
Right.
So right now at Diamond Valley, softball games, people can bring a six-pack or whatever,
Of 3-2 beer.
a 3-2 beer. And when I go, right, in cans, when I go check to see if it's 6 or 8 or 3-2, but they're bringing beer already. This says no more.
Correct.
So we'll need to have some kind of communication. I'm assuming there's a network that you can get out to before seasons start,
Yes.
to league coordinators and all that.
Correct. We will have to
Yeah.
do a good job of coordinating, communicating
Yeah.
to the teams, the coaches, the players, that
Right.
that it's not permitted anymore. And then provide them the avenues, like Shane was mentioning, that if they wanted to, that we could go down
Here's what
these
you
options.
You had a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the first bullet point, just to make sure I'm understanding it, because it says no beer or wine. Beer or wine is allowed unless there's a permit. So I think what you mean is that no hard alcohol is allowed unless there's a permit. Am I right in reading?
You're right.
Okay. And then on the second, where you're kind of singling out Diamond Valley and Chimney Park, that kind of implies that every other park in town, you can have beer and wine.
Correct.
And I guess, is that true of Eastman Park?
That is correct.
So all the little kids are playing soccer and their parents are slamming.
They could, and so that's an area that we would watch and pay attention to, but we rent that shelter a lot for.
Well,
parties.
And I would say I'd put it a different way. One of the iterations we talked about doing initially was allowing it in the community parks and not in the neighborhood parks. We thought, okay, if we allow it in our larger community parks and not in our neighborhood parks, it was really the PD that said, the neighborhood parks aren't where we're having these issues, though. These family reunions and people showing up and having a couple beers in the park, it was just kind of a non-issue from the PD. So we thought, why eliminate it there if it's really, if it's just kind of a fear-based elimination and there's no metric there, no data. So I think that's why we pulled that out.
So I had kids who played soccer and a husband who played softball.
Mhm.
Softball, there's always beer because it's always a bunch of, guys but it's usually late afternoon or evening whereas soccer was early morning
Right.
and we would be done by we're done I think earlier and I never saw any parent in the 8 years that I was involved in soccer
Yeah.
at anything ever bring. But, and it's also because it's maybe out of respect for kids or a part of the day, but I never, I never heard or saw that.
I was thinking that when you said it, Mayor, and I've had the same experience. My kids play both sports, and even at youth, softball and baseball, alcohol is more of a problem. I think if someone brought alcohol to a soccer game, I think it would be self-policed. Even if somebody brought McDonald's or something, I don't know. But anyway, the other comment I have is having, I spend about every weekend to different parks around the region, and when you do the signage, I've noticed other communities are starting to say no alcohol, no marijuana, no vaping. That's just something to throw out there to think about, because we are gonna have to probably do some signage at these locations.
Yeah, we will need to do some signage, and the smoking in parks is a topic that we may discuss.
I like the idea of maybe adding that,
Me too.
because I've seen, I've been by
Mhm.
folks who are actually, I know they're not smoking a cigarette, but I think there's this presumption because it's legal.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't
Right.
get it that it's legal, but it's not in public places. So I think having that added to the signage in some way, even if it's just no smoking, right? That
And
would,
there, are we smoke-free parks? Or-
We are not.
We're not. So if we were going to do the cigarettes or e-cigarettes, the board would actually need to approve an ordinance for that. Because right now cigarettes are a legal drug, so people can smoke wherever, so.
Right.
That, again, with the spectrum, you could go absolutely no parking anywhere, or you could designate like certain areas in a park, like parking lots, or, you know, give a couple ashtrays, or just go like beer and out, so that's again.
we have a lot of people who smoke in our parks.
Yes.
We do.
And
I mean, just in general.
In general.
Whatever it is they're
We-
smoking, they're smoking.
That's a topic that we internally within my department have discussed, we just haven't brought it forward, but if that's something that you all would like us to look into a little bit more, we definitely can.
Has smoking things beyond cigarettes led to some of the vandalism in our parks?
Not necessarily.
I don't know if there,
Fair to say, huh?
I don't know if certain loitering, of certain things going on, because we've had the spike in vandalism in a lot of our parks.
We've had at times spikes in vandalism, but I don't know that it's related to anything like that.
Okay.
Eric, just a little more on the parks, the town parks, are the special district parks, and of course, I'm in Water Valley, so there's all the other little parks that are in Water Valley, are those considered town parks?
Those are not considered town parks, they're open to the public for use,
Yeah,
but they're not.
They're managed by the
They're
district.
managed and owned and operated by the district. So they're, the only caveat there is the general public can go use them.
yeah. Okay. I
So,
see that.
so the way HOA can set whatever local rules it wants on the subject. They could prohibit
Correct.
alcohol or
Correct,
whatever.
they could do that if they wanted to.
I wanted to ask you about the next slide. How beer garden sales are impacted. We make sales tax off of beer garden.
We make
sales,
sales
right?
tax and we lease the site to whomever is the,
Do we know what sales tax numbers we bring in off of beer garden?
I don't know them off the top of my head, I just actually looked at the report this morning for the window of time so far this summer, but
The only reason I ask that is because I think on our report of bills tonight to approve, there's a bill regarding the leasing of the fence for the beer garden. Do we own that, or do we
own the fence.
we own the fence?
We own.
Maybe that was something else then, because I saw it was renting of portable fencing or something like that. It might have, I'd
That's
have to.
probably for a project, not the beer,
Okay.
not the.
I thought we were
not the
paying
white
for somebody to come in and set up the
No,
fencing.
we purchased that last year, and we own that.
Okay.
I don't think we make that big a bucks though off of the beer.
No,
gardens,
it's
which
probably-
Even the sales tax, and the.
Sales tax,
it's not like
I
it's-
think last week, and it was last week was slow. We probably made about $20 in sales tax, but that's down from, the 4th of July was, the concert after the 4th was slow in regards to attendance. We may be doing $100 a concert. On the sales tax side, where we're making more money is on the leasing of it per time.
Is that paid for a whole season? Is it High Hops that rents or does the beer?
No,
garden?
the beer garden license is through the Clearview Library Foundation. So they've pulled the permit, and then they have their own separate agreement with High Hops who
Oh, okay.
provides it for them, provides the beer.
So again, anybody who's like complying with the law and says, I understand it's gotta be 3-2 beer, and I don't like any 3-2 beer, so I'll just go to the beer garden. In theory, with this change, they can now come to the parks with High Hops on their own and not pay $5 a pint.
Right.
So there could be a shift there. But the beer garden has, all the cornhole, so.
So you just need kind of a general consensus of is everybody on board moving in this direction that's been presented to us this evening?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. And then, you know, any ordinance would be effective January 1st, 2019, so we have plenty of time to
Okay.
message it out. I think whoever mentioned that with the messaging, I think it's a key part of this, is make sure people understand.
But could there be an adverse, and I know Emily's in our room here, but could there be an adverse effect in now saying, hey, you can bring beer and wine in, and now we do have an abuse problem Where right now, people may not even think about bringing alcohol, because they just assume what they would like to partake in is not allowed. Now we say, hey, it is allowed, we have to assume we're gonna have a lot more infiltration at the parks than
It
what we
absolutely
have
could,
now.
and I think that's why we're proposing the
The
1 year,
sunset.
Right.
you know, to just see, you know, cause you know, when I walk through the park a couple times during these events, you see some people with open containers, others don't. I think it's fairly, you know, most people understand you can do it with limitations, so,
Right.
I don't think we're really anticipating a big run on the bank with this ordinance, but it could be.
I guess I'm wondering about the avid proclamation about now it's okay,
Well, I'm thinking more.
versus just PD going, it is okay, you know, we see it, we know it's going on.
I think you have people doing it in theory anyway. I mean, I know people already that, they're taking wine in during the concert series. They think it's a nice venue to have wine, so they're sneaking it in or they're bringing it in.
I'm just talking about the messaging,
and
it's by
they-
advertising, hey, now you can do it, now we've got
Well, and-
25% more usage of it in all of our parks, because now,
Right, when I think a lot of messaging goes
Yeah,
in
don't
on
advertise
Diamond
it that
Valley
Just don't
and on
advertise it
Chimney
that way.
Park to say, no more alcohol here, I mean, that's a big part of our messages. Heretofore, they've been allowed to bring 3-2 in, and I think we wanna message that out and not just come in and take a book and hammer people.
Yeah, I think education's gonna be the key at Diamond Valley and Chimney Park.
that's gonna be a serious wake-up call. I'm talking about the rest of our parks,
Yeah,
where now we're saying, hey,
I agree with Shane that the potential's there, but I don't think we're gonna
Well, on messaging,
make
Puckett's
a
gonna
big
say-
message out of it.
It's not gonna message like
Yeah.
that where everybody's
Yeah,
gonna
it's
be
gonna
like,
be-
oh,
we're-
what
you know,
do you
we're
think?
gonna-
I've been waiting for this to
We're
happen.
gonna change our
Oh.
rules, our signage, change our rule book that we publish every year, but I don't think make a big deal out of it.
that's what I'm saying, I'm not suggesting the big deal made out of it.
So we don't wanna like a poster with the mayor drinking a beer in the park.
Right.
Well, that's why I come back to the messaging, not to control this.
Join me, I'm starting a new concept
favor?
coffee.
I'd rather the
Wine
message,
with
be
the mayor.
no more, there's not gonna be
You're
alcohol at
whining
all
already.
allowed in Diamond Valley, you know, and it'd be where it's not allowed, and not saying, hey, it's a free-for-all, minus hard liquor at all the other parks, and now, you see what I'm seeing, now we got a teeter-totter of an issue, that's all that I'm trying
Right,
to.
I get you, and it's, I understand your point and your concern, and so I think that we'll have to figure out with the communications team how to get the word out there, but not put a lot of exclamation points behind it, you know.
That's where I was
No,
headed
no
with
bold
this.
fonts and,
The messaging's where it's not allowed anymore, cause that's probably gonna be the more contentious, you know, part of it.
We won't put it on the flashing signs.
Right. We now allow
BYOB.
BYOD.
all parks,
Just a-
minus Diamond Valley.
Windsor, actually, we'll have, like, the water fountains, we'll have the adult, the kid, the dog, and then the kegerator.
Yeah, the catering.
Okay,
Okay.
Your Honor, so
Well, we got future meetings, and then we're gonna head upstairs and try to get our current board meeting out of the way too. So, next week, when we convene, it's at noon here. Are we all going in, are we able to go in one vehicle? Did we secure
Yes.
one vehicle? Okay, great. So we'll be here at noon, and we'll do our tour,
And
next
so
week.
everybody knows, I'm planning on just getting sandwiches or something for the ride, so we'll have sandwiches, chips, drinks, so you don't have to plan on eating beforehand. I'm looking at you, Dr. Jones.
No beer and wine, Shane?
Not in city vehicles, no. That's a future meeting discussion, so.
Another thing. What you can't do.
That's on the return trip one.
We have to rent a party bus for that.
And then July 23rd, our work session will be presented from Northern Water. And then we'll have our town board meeting. And then that week on the 25th is our strategic community planning meeting at the Community Rec Center at 5:30. So plan on being there, because I think each of you will probably have a role at it, maybe at a table or at least being
Right.
part of the
Right, so
conversation.
I was gonna, that'll be the board's call. I think that we're gonna have 5 different tables, and we'll have 2 staff members assigned to each one. And so I would tell you, board, if there's a subject that is of particular interest to you and you just wanna camp out there, do that. If instead you'd rather rove around and kinda go around with the community, you're welcome to do that. So I would say the board, you assign your own place there. The general deal will be, we'll start out at 5:30. I think I'd like to have the mayor maybe do a brief update on the strategic planning and just generally what the board covered. Then I'll jump in and explain to the community kind of what we're gonna do that evening. We'll have, each member will be able to sit at 3 different tables that night. And so they'll start out at a table, they'll be there for 15 minutes, and they'll get up, go to another table and a third table, and then they'll go back to the original table and kind of reconvene. So it'll be about an hour process for them when they go around, and then we'll debrief everybody on what they learned. We'll also have that sketch that was done. We'll have that up, and people will have a chance to go up to the board and just make comments on what we missed, or, you know, when it says infrastructure, people can go up and write, you know, you need to work on the water line on Ash Street, or whatever they wanna put up under all these categories. So we'll have that, and I'm gonna have, we're gonna also have another one of what's our ideal population, and let people go and just comment on that as well. So it should be a good evening. We'll see, we're gonna have, obviously free daycare for anybody who shows up.
Actually, I was, you sent the email earlier today. I would encourage people to bring their kids. I think we'll do a separate table or even a separate room and let some kids do some strategic planning around parks and get their input. So if people want to bring their kids, we will entertain them and get some information from them.
I'm gonna sit at
Yeah.
that table.
I think Ian's going in there too.
I volunteered to do the table.
Yeah.
Like, believe it or not, folks, you have 7 elected officials and they're all in there with the kids. So I got
That's probably safer, actually.
you. Well, we're gonna come back with an macaroni picture of what they did.
I'd rather have them throw things at me than the other.
So hopefully we'll come out of that, and then hopefully within the next 30 days, we'll have our official
Right,
strategic
so then on
plan.
August 20th, we have Cheryl Trent, so she's scheduled to come back. So that'll be, I don't know, a little less than a month later,
Yeah.
like 3 weeks later, we'll have Cheryl Trent back here. And so she'll be able to synthesize all those community input and what we heard from the board and really bring that into a full plan. So we thought that was, instead of paying her to be at this community meeting, thought best use of our resources and her time for us to conduct this meeting and just have her help us synthesize all the input into the plan.
Will our new communications persons, will she be working for us as of July 25th?
Yes.
So she'll be there, I think it'd be important for her, it is a her, right? For her
Yes.
to be there that evening to
I-
kind of, you know, so she's on top of getting a sense of how to communicate it out then. Because I think part of what she'll hear is, you know, just the feeling of what citizens are saying and kind of the response and reaction, and that would be good.
Yeah, and the answer is absolutely, she'll be there.
Okay, perfect.
Are we advertising sufficiently the strategic plan community meeting? I mean, via our social media sites
Yeah,
and
I
stuff
think
we have?
we're gonna really push that message out, yeah.
I haven't seen anything yet, that's why I
Okay.
was asking if
All
that,
right.
however that's being done, if it's gonna be done.
Someone posted it on Facebook,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then on Facebook it got onto the town,
Right.
the sub-Facebook,
It was
that's
on
just
the
town
store,
of Windsor.
wasn't it?
And then I put it on.
So keep it on.
I just know that's
Yeah.
something
They
I've
don't
heard
put it on
about
the
since
store.
Katie left
I'm
was.
going to do that.
Really?
It's
On
on
the
there.
email list.
And I've seen the next door post, and people are engaged there as well.
Okay.
Okay, July 30th, you all get a night off. And then August 6th, we'll have the work session. And then the other thing that's on, it's on here as follow-up, August 7th is your National Night Outs. I don't know how that's looking. Usually, I think the police department takes care of all of those. And then right before, a couple of weeks before, you'll get the breakout of who's having what in your districts or neighborhoods. And it's kind of the anticipation and the expectation that you at least will go to those that are in. Now, Miles, I think sometimes doesn't have any, and if that's the case, if you end up in a district that maybe doesn't have any, you're welcome to go to whatever other, districts are having them as well, because you'll get the whole breakout list of all of the ones that are happening, but specifically yours, and who the person is kind of like in charge. So that's what I would usually do, is go and introduce myself to that person. And then I think usually, I don't know if it's Usually a police officer at some point comes and gives them a special National Night Out cap, right, the chair of the event or the night and some things too, so,
Fire department shows up, police department.
It's really neat.
yeah.
Sergeant Shaneline is putting that together, and he'll
Okay.
get you that information through Chief Clement.
Okay. So that will be something you'll wanna attend, that's a good way to kinda get out there amongst your constituents and just kinda see what's going on in your neighborhoods, so that's a good thing. And then August 20th, like as Shane said, we have the follow-up with Cheryl, and then August 27th, we'll be discussing enforcement options from the municipal court, and our town board meeting, and then we'll have another holiday, Labor Day weekend.
Wow.
So, and then as far as Labor Day weekend, traditionally, the board has walked in the parade and thrown candy. For those of you who don't feel like you want to do the walk, you can ride in the back of the truck and hand us the candy as we're passing out candy. But that's kind of been traditionally, so I think you'll wanna plan that on your calendar as well. And then we should be getting, we usually have a tent at the park. And there'll be time allotments of when you can be in that tent. And that, when that comes out, you can just let folks know. So that's all happening Labor Day weekend, so I'm sure that's yet to come, but that would be something else you might wanna schedule if you're gonna be around that weekend.
Who's the committee picking the stuff for the parade? Do you?
We did, it's candy again, going back to candy.
Okay.
It's much
The
easier.
little stickers.
Now, and so here's the thing though, in the tent, we are doing a spin wheel for bigger prizes, because we do have some nicer prizes. Like last year, we had those chairs. I don't know what they all have this year, but I think they have a couple of bigger items, that if somebody comes, and so instead of just having the stuff where people can grab 2 or 3
Yeah.
things of,
Win something.
they spin they can do the spin wheel, and whatever prize they land on, then they can get.
That'll be fun.
And so there'll be that, so that we can kind of engage with those folks, and so there'll be that opportunity too.
Did we go back to throwing candy because the grapefruits didn't work out so good?
The little
No, we're
sticker-
going back to
sticker.
candy, because last year we did like 5 different items, and when you got up there, the kids were like, I want this, I want a sticker, I want this thing, and it was like, I just want one thing, I can go, shh,
Yep.
here you go.
And the adults were grabbing their fans and,
Yeah.
it was just, it was,
You know,
So-
the last,
it was fun.
The slap bracelets were huge,
They
that's all I
were,
gotta say.
those were the slap bracelets.
But that's an inside joke for the new board members, those slap bracelets. But I don't wanna have the mayor listening to watch the kids, so,
this is the 13th, which is a Thursday, I think. I'm assuming it's the 10th, the
Oh,
following Monday.
yep,
Oh, yeah, it was
Okay.
3 plus 10, that doesn't make sense. It would be September 10.
And
yep,
all
so
the-
September 10th.
And I assume all the 5:30s are where they're supposed to be?
Let's see here.
Check that.
I'll check for you right now.
That's good, huh?
August 14th.
13th is a
Yeah,
Thursday.
so the 10th would be 5:30.
August
Yep.
15th, 5:30.
August 13th, 5:30, yep.
that's what she did, she was copying the date on September 13th.
Yeah,
September
September 10th, yep, so we're good.
True.
Okay, so let's run upstairs and start a meeting in 5 minutes up there so we can do the current